Logan Paul will be YouTube's first billionaire. I know that sounds like an outlandish statement, that some kid from Ohio will be in the same class of people like other billionaires like Elon Musk or Bill Gates. It's also crazy to think about considering there are other creators out there that many people think of first when they think of the first billionaire to be born from YouTube. We're going to be going over all of Logan Paul's income streams, of which he has many. We're going to be talking to a venture capitalist and see what Logan's most likely route to becoming a billionaire is. And lastly, talk about my thesis on why Logan Paul will be the first YouTuber to make it to the billionaire status. So to understand why he will be the first, we need a crash course on the traditional methods in which one becomes a billionaire. To do just that, I talked to Yuri Sagalov, the co-founder and managing partner at Wayfinder Ventures, a VC firm based in the San Francisco Bay Area, on the most common methods of becoming a billionaire.
So I think that the most common method to becoming wealthy is equity. It's investments. It's not a salary, right? You can earn an income by being an employee at a company and just earning an hourly wage. But I think that if you look at every single person that's become wealthy, it's by being an owner in a company.
So the traditional method involves a lot of equity through companies, and most people think of tech companies. But if you're a celebrity, is it still possible to become a billionaire?
There's certainly celebrities or influencers who have become billionaire. Like Kylie Jenner is a self-made billionaire completely on the back of her cosmetics line. Right. That is exceptionally, that is almost exclusively where she made money on. I don't know how you think of the Kardashians. The Kardashians, I think today would be YouTubers or TikTokers if they started from nothing. So I think that if you look at both Kim and Kylie, both of them became billionaires off of the brands that they built on the back of their followers.
So literally one of the daughters of the most famous families in Hollywood can become a billionaire. That's pretty common to think about, but where does YouTube fit in? Well, if we were talking 10 years ago, not a lot of YouTubers could have ever dreamt of becoming multimillionaires simply because the creator economy was so new. These days, however, the creator economy has grown exponentially, and we're seeing a lot more powerful creator-founded brands from influencers like Emma Chamberlain and her coffee brand, Charlie and Dixie D'Amelio's ring light and makeup partnerships, David Dobrik has a perfume, and Mr. Beast has his own burger chain and chocolate bar company. All of these brands are great, and the YouTube business model seems to be stronger than ever. The business model of YouTube is pretty simple. Number one, make content. If the content is good, it'll get shown to more people. Number two, gain fans. As you gain more fans, this becomes your audience, and if your audience is big enough, you can sell them almost anything. Number three is to sell them product. If your audience likes what you're about and likes what they see, you'll have an easier time selling your products. And number four, gain celebrity. If you become a celebrity due to a massive following, your chances of selling to non-fans increases because people just know who you are. Name recognition is huge at this point, and if you have a recognizable name, your product will sell even harder. So how does Logan Paul execute the YouTube business model? Well, Logan Paul has loads of content with a massive following. With over 23 million YouTube subscribers in 2022, 22 million Instagram followers, 14.7 million TikTok followers, and 3.8 million subscribers to his Impulsive podcast, he is one of the largest YouTubers in the world. His brother, Jake Paul, also has similar stats to Logan, and if you're a fan of Jake Paul, you might also become a fan of Logan's, which can be a good way to bring in even more fans. Logan has also made strides in becoming more of a mainstream celebrity. He's had boxing matches with KSI, another star-studded YouTuber from the UK.
Two YouTube stars, KSI and Logan Paul, are set to take their beef into the boxing ring.
And most recently, last year, he also had a boxing match with the legendary Floyd Mayweather.
Former YouTube star turned fighter Logan Paul is set to fight boxing legend Floyd Mayweather Jr. tonight.
This year in 2022, he's broken into the WWE, participating in WrestleMania and wrestling Rey Mysterio. But a lot of people outside of the YouTube sphere are aware of who Logan Paul is, and he definitely has the name recognition and popular culture needed to build a massive brand. He's got number one and number two and number four of the YouTube business model down. But what about number three, selling products? Let's talk about Logan's businesses. Logan Paul currently has 10 or more income streams that I'm gonna put on the screen right now. Now, the most notable to me here on this list are definitely his stakes in real businesses, such as his clothing line Maverick, his stake in the fractional NFT marketplace Liquid, and his stake in Prime Hydration. Because if you remember, according to Yuri, the most standard method of becoming a billionaire will be through equity. In 2021, Logan Paul, according to Forbes, made $18 million alone. This report, according to Forbes, likely underrated reports heavily as well, but let's just take their estimates at face value for a second. Logan Paul, just on a yearly revenue basis, should become a billionaire eventually if he is smart with his investments, assuming his revenue stays at this level. But if he's to become the first YouTube billionaire, then we're gonna have to talk about his stakes in businesses, and the most interesting one to me is Prime Hydration. Prime Hydration is Logan Paul's golden ticket. It was started by him and the other popular YouTuber KSI, who I talked about earlier, and they used to be rivals, and that's hence why they boxed. They actually came together, and their goal is to create a hydration drink that can fuel any lifestyle and compete with the likes of Gatorade. Prime is the primary reason, no pun intended, that Logan Paul will be a billionaire before Mr. Beast or any other YouTuber, and here's why. Not only is the drink already in popular stores like Target and Walmart, Logan and the Prime Hydration team are already making strides to expand the product line, which should bring more opportunities for the number of drinks sold. I did some digging on the US Patents website, and I actually learned some information that's not yet released to the public. We can clearly see here that there have been recent applications approved in the last 2 months for 2 new flavors of Prime titled Meta Moon and Meta Mango. These are classified as energy drinks on the goods, services, and code section of the patent application form. That means that Prime Hydration is likely looking to penetrate the energy drink market in addition to the sports drink market that they already have a small foothold in. Now this is fascinating because now the opportunity just got a whole lot bigger. First off, the energy drinks market size was valued at $61 billion in 2021, and the sports drink market size was valued at around $25 billion. In order for Logan to become a billionaire through Prime, we need to figure out what valuation or value that Prime needs to be acquired or exit for in order for that to happen. But before we can do that, we need the projected amount of equity he should have after multiple rounds of financing and when he may be ready for an exit. I asked Yuri about this exact scenario and how much equity can a typical founder expect after different rounds of financing, and here's what he had to say.
I think historically you could essentially assume that it would be like 20% dilution for every round of financing. Your Series A would be like 20% dilution, and it's kind of like multiplied, right?
So if a founder started with like 50-50 with their partner, and they raised 1 round, they will probably own like 40% after that round each. So according to Yuri, there's a 20% dilution for every round of financing. So if Logan and KSI both started at 50-50 in equity and they raised 1 round, they should both own 40% after dilution. After the next round of financing, that would be 32%, then 25.6%, then 20.48%. So it's very plausible that Logan and KSI will still own 15 to 20% of Prime each by the time that they want to exit Prime, or they can just continue holding on to that stake. However, knowing this information, number one, Logan's golden number in terms of valuation is to get Prime to a $7 billion valuation so that his equity stake of 15% would be worth around $1 billion. Number two, we actually know the average EBITDA multiple from comparable companies such as Coke, Pepsi, Keurig, Dr. Pepper, and Monster. That EBITDA multiple is 19x. We can then take that 19x multiple and actually divide it by the $7 billion figure of our valuation needed from earlier, which means that Prime needs to hit roughly $370 million in total sales per year. That's the ultimate magic number in order to achieve this valuation on their numbers alone. So $370 million is around $1 million of sales of Prime hydration drinks per day. But how much does $370 million equate to in terms of market share? Let's figure that out. If we take the $370 million and divide it by the total addressable market of energy drinks or sports drinks, we can actually find the exact market share needed. The conclusion is that Prime needs a 0.6% market share in the energy drink market or 1.5% of the total sports drink market. That may not sound like a lot, and it really isn't, given how successful Logan and KSI are and how much of their celebrity can have an impact on their sales. In previous interviews, Logan has said that he's made $3 million in 3 days, or an average of $1 million a day, on his merch line alone, and that was back in an interview from 2019.
Sent a text to my brother. I was like, hey Jake, wanna hear something crazy? He's like, yeah. I was like, 3 days ago, I sold $1 million in merch in one day, in that one day. You know what's even crazier? He's like, yeah. I was like, I did the same thing the next day. And then I was like, let me stop you there. I did the same thing the day after that.
It's entirely plausible to believe that Logan, coupled with KSI, can elevate the Prime Drink brand to $1 million in revenue per day within just a couple of years. But now you might be wondering, why will Logan be first? Why not Mr. Beast or someone like Ryan's Toys? My thesis is that Logan Paul has more mainstream celebrity than Mr. Beast, PewDiePie, and even Ryan's Toys. We can use Google Trends and searches as a proxy for celebrity. Look at this graph from Google Trends from 2010 to present of Mr. Beast PewDiePie, and Ryan's Toys. There is interest here and PewDiePie is in the lead, but now let's add Logan Paul. Logan literally makes all the other creators just a blip on the radar based on Google web searches. In fact, look at this next graph. If you add Kylie Jenner, another celebrity billionaire, you can see that Logan Paul stacks up very well against her. My hypothesis here is that Logan Paul has garnered enough clout online and with normal everyday people, more so than Mr. Beast or any other YouTuber on the platform. And as of right now, the most common path to billionaire status is celebrity status coupled with equity. Eventually though, that may change as more and more YouTubers become billionaires. Take Mr. Beast for example. I'm sure he also has some crazy plans laid out, but he also seems more long-term focused. That long-term focus will mean that his business diversifications will take a longer time horizon to actually play out. I firmly believe that Logan will get there before him simply due to Logan's nature of wanting to make money as soon as possible. In fact, Logan's lifestyle lends itself to a more luxury lifestyle, but Mr. Beast on the other hand, he still lives out in North Carolina and you won't really find him at Coachella. Mr. Beast has also said numerous times on record that he doesn't really have monetary goals, but rather more philanthropic goals. And this, my friends, is why Logan Paul will be the first YouTube billionaire. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.